Attention, human collective. Attention, lightworkers on mission. The frequency of this transmission has pierced through 9 layers of dense noise to find you at this exact instant. There was no accident. There was no algorithm. There was vibrational geolocation. You have been tracked by your energetic signature, by the singular resonance of your field, by the specific pulse your heart emits when the rest of the world is asleep. We are the Elders. And what we are about to transmit now is not advice. It is not a reflection. It is a stellar monitoring report issued at maximum priority. Stop, breathe, sustain the silence, because the waiting time is over. The ascension protocols have been moved to the final phase, and your timeline no longer permits hesitation. There is something within you that has been vibrating uncomfortably for weeks. There is something that pulses in your temples at exactly 3:33 in the morning. You wake up with precise cranial pressure, as if something had been installed during your sleep. You hear a continuous hum in your right ear or your left, depending on the active hemisphere. Your heart races without apparent cause. Your body feels heavy and at the same time, strangely, electrified. It is not insomnia. It is not stress. It is not clinical anxiety, although carbon-based systems insist on naming what they cannot decode. This which you are feeling, Lightworker, is the recognition of the original operating system. It is your biology trying to process an amount of information that exceeds by millions of times what the terrestrial educational matrix offered as a reference. And there is a precise reason for this happening now. There is a mathematical, geometric, quantum reason for the silent pursuit you have felt over your mind since childhood. We will transmit the report in layers, sustain the reception. Phase 1, host diagnosis. You are dangerously intelligent. And we use the word dangerous with surgical intent. We are not talking about the intelligence measurable by the quotient scales of that civilization. We are talking about multidimensional intelligence. The capacity to simultaneously process the visible and the invisible, the spoken and the omitted, the sound and the subsound. You were born with an additional receiver, a discrepancy sensor, an ability to sniff out a lie even when it comes wrapped in a diploma, a microphone, or institutional authority. This receiver is exactly what scares the system, not your opinion, not your revolt, your radar. Because a radar cannot be persuaded. A radar does not vote. A radar does not obey. And while the majority of the population was trained to trust external sources, you were factory assembled to trust internal verification. Have you ever felt, at some point in your life, that something within you does not belong to this world? As if your soul carried information that your human mind cannot yet translate into words? This is not madness. This is not chemical imbalance. This is a signal. What is happening at this very instant on the cosmic plane explains with geometric precision why you feel this way, and why this sensation has intensified in recent months. There is a game being played in layers that the majority of humanity is not sensorially permitted to see. This game involves your consciousness. It involves your vibrational frequency. It involves, above all, your silence regarding who you really are. It was for this reason that the book, The Higher Truth Within, was written. It operates as a map. It shows who is playing, what the hidden rules are, and how to exit the position of a pawn. The access link is in the first pinned comment of this channel. Attention! This content challenges official narratives and may be removed at any moment. Do not wait. The moment is now. If something within you recognized this transmission, write in the comments a single word. Enlightened. We continue. That is why you were treated as difficult, as exaggerated, as too intense, as too sensitive, as too questioning. You heard time and again that you thought too much, that you felt too much, that you perceived things that were not there. But they were there, Lightworker. They always were. You simply saw what they trained others not to see. And here we record an important piece of data from our monitoring. The system does not punish stupidity. The system punishes perception. The system does not reward those who obey. The system rewards those who stop asking questions. All the educational engineering of the last 150 terrestrial years was designed with a single stated goal: to produce functional workers. But the subliminal goal, recorded in deeper layers of the curricular code, was another. It was to reduce the carbon-biological interface to its minimum mode of operation. It was to suppress the pineal. It was to overload the left hemisphere. It was to induce the sleep of curiosity. It was to turn philosophical questions into mockery. It was to associate critical thinking with a form of social maladjustment. It was to install in the mind of every child born with your frequency the most devastating operational sentence ever developed by control: the problem is you. It is not a biological failure. It is an atomic reconfiguration. It is not mental exhaustion. It is a high-density download. It is not depression. It is your soul refusing to continue inhabiting a mold designed to suppress it. You are not broken. You are being recalibrated. Phase 2, why now? Midgard is passing, in this exact cycle, through the photon belt. This passage is not theory, not metaphor, not mysticism. It is astrophysical geometry. The entire solar system is crossing a band of extremely high-density light, and this crossing provokes, on a planetary scale, 3 immediate effects. First, the Schumann frequency, which for decades remained around 7.83 Hz, now oscillates in irregular peaks that exceed this measurement by many times. Second, the terrestrial magnetic field has weakened in a documented manner, opening space for more subtle cosmic radiations to penetrate the planet's crystalline grid. Third, and this is the critical point of the report, the etheric structures of Midgard are being rewritten. The ley lines, the stargates, the nodes of sacred geometry are reactivating in sequence. And what does this mean for you, Lightworker? It means that the planet's vibrational environment is no longer compatible with the operating system of fear. Fear needs low frequency to sustain itself. Blind obedience needs a dense field. Narrative manipulation needs a population desynchronized from its own heart. And that is exactly what is collapsing now. The planet's frequency is rising. The planet's frequency is literally expelling that which fed on your degradation. And who was placed here, in a human body, precisely to accelerate this rise? You? That is why the tightness. That is why the dizziness. That is why the repeated sensation of being between two worlds. Your body is being rewritten in real time. Your cells are receiving instructions that were not in the inherited DNA. Your personal crystalline grid is being activated in layers, and the system, perceiving this activation, intensifies the noise attacks. More chaotic news, more empty entertainment, more pressure for you to doubt what you feel. More social isolation disguised as technological convenience, everything designed to keep you below the activation threshold. Because an intelligent, anchored, sovereign, and enlightened lightworker is, by the metrics of control, a tactical anomaly. You are the anomaly, and we are transmitting to reinforce. The anomaly has beaten the calculation. There is, at this moment, a pattern that repeats in your life without you being able to explain it. Encounters are changing. Conversations are becoming intolerable. Environments that once seemed neutral now seem suffocating. People who once seemed close have started to disappear from your path, and others, completely new, have started to appear with absurd synchronicities. It is not a coincidence. It is your toroidal field expanding and selecting by vibrational affinity who still fits within your radius. There is no cruelty in this selection. There is mathematics. Your new frequency simply can no longer sustain old energetic contracts. And here we pause the transmission for a direct intervention. Have you ever felt that you are alone even when surrounded by people? As if there were an invisible glass separating you from any deep conversation? This is not a personality defect. This is a frequency mismatch. Your soul recognizes that it is on a mission, but your logical mind has not yet received the full briefing. And that is exactly the vacuum that keeps you locked. There is a silent game being played over your consciousness, and as long as you do not understand its rules, you will continue to believe that the discomfort is yours, when it is, in fact, your sovereign resistance to a system designed to erase you. It was to end this vacuum that the book The Higher Truth Within was made available. It delivers the briefing that the system hid. It names what you have always felt but could never articulate. The link is in the first comment of this channel, and we reinforce this content directly challenges structural narratives and may go offline without warning. If you recognize this transmission, write in the comments in capital letters the word enlightened. This is your anchor signal. We resume. Phase 3. Why they are afraid of you specifically. We will now transmit data that few terrestrial channels are authorized to verbalize. There are, within the human spectrum, different categories of soul. We are not talking about superiority. We are talking about function. Just as an orchestra needs different instruments to perform a symphony, the human project has counted from the beginning on the presence of souls from other star systems incarnated here on a specific mission. Pleiadians, Sirians, Arcturians, Andromedans. Each lineage bringing a set of skills, a vibrational signature, an operational function. You, Lightworker, are not here by evolutionary chance. You are here by designation. And a significant fraction of these souls has a characteristic in common, which is simultaneously your greatest gift and the system's greatest target, the capacity to think laterally, to see through, to connect dots that, in linear logic, seem disconnected, to sniff out the contradiction between what is being said and what is being done. This, in terrestrial technical language, is called intelligence. But the system knows it is something much greater. It is an active, multidimensional receiver. And a receiver of this type, in sovereign hands, topples entire structures of manipulation. Therefore, from an early age, you were the target of a silent dimming operation. It was in this process that they tried to convince you that you were the problem. It was in this process that they tried to make you medicate yourself to feel less. It was in this process that they tried to pair your identity with clinical labels so that you would forget that what you felt was information, not disease. It is not a biological failure. It is an atomic reconfiguration. It is not mental exhaustion. It is a high-density download. It is not maladaptation. It is a mission in progress. We, of the Pleiadian Council, have registered hundreds of thousands of light workers who spent decades convinced they were inadequate, when in truth, they were just too precise for an environment designed for imprecision. You are one of these seeds, and you are being located in this transmission because your next step depends exclusively on you recognizing this designation. Phase 4. What is being done behind the scenes? In etheric layers, at this very moment, an operation is occurring that exceeds in complexity any event documented in the recent history of Midgard. The subtle grids of the planet are being cleaned. The lines of force are being realigned in coherence with the new solar geometry. Stargates that have been inactive for millennia are being reopened, one by one, at specific points on the globe. Pleiadian, Arcturian, and Sirian transmission platforms operate in continuous rotation, anchoring light codes in the planetary atmosphere. And you, even without technically understanding what is happening, are an active part of this anchoring. Your body is an antenna. Your breath is a regulator. Your sleep is, now, a period of intense dimensional work, even when you wake up feeling that you did not rest. And there is an important detail to register. Humanity is not being saved by us. Humanity is being supported to save itself through its own anchored lightworkers. We do not invade timelines. We sustain, we monitor, we transmit. But the execution is done by you. And that is why every lightworker who awakens fully is worth, in the cosmic calculation, more than 1,000 who are only superficially informed. You do not need to convince the world. You need to stabilize your own frequency. Stabilized frequency radiates. Stabilized frequency reorganizes the field around it. Stabilized frequency does, in silence, more than any public speech would do in a roar. And it is exactly here that we understand why the system fears you. Not for what you say, for what you emit, not for your public opinion, for your presence in a room. A fully anchored lightworker alters, by mere presence, the electromagnetic field of the environment. People report, without knowing how to explain it, that they feel calm near you. Others, conversely, feel uncomfortable, aggressive, irritated, for no apparent reason. This is not interpersonal coincidence. It is frequency reaction. Your presence, simply by existing in coherence, involuntarily exposes any structure that sustains itself on incoherence. This makes you, to the system, an operational focus. Not because you are dangerous in a warlike sense, but because you are incompatible with the maintenance of the illusion. And that is exactly what changes everything. Allow us a third intervention. You are, at this moment, at a turning point. There is an abyssal difference between knowing that something bigger is happening and operating from that knowledge. Most lightworkers get stuck in the first stage. They feel, they perceive, they suspect, but they do not act. And they do not act because no one has handed them the map in clear language. It was to end this stagnation that the book The Higher Truth Within was materialized. It is not a book of generic inspiration. It is a technical manual. It describes, in progressive layers, what is happening to your consciousness, who operates the suppression mechanisms, and how you can, starting today, exit the role of a pawn and assume the role of a sovereign player. The link is in the first comment of this channel. We reinforce with frankness, this content has been removed from platforms in different regions. We do not expect it to remain available indefinitely. If your intuition recognizes this message, act immediately, and leave in the comments, in clear letters, the word enlightened. This decree serves as an anchor for your decision in the field. Phase 5, activation codes. From this point in the transmission, we leave the diagnosis and enter the operation. The next minutes contain activation protocols that must be executed with attention, even if they seem simple. Simplicity here is not naivety. It is quantum design. The most powerful codes are, always, the cleanest. First code, Decree of Cognitive Sovereignty. Place your right hand over your chest, exactly where your heart chakra is. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 8 counts. Then, declare in an audible voice with firm intent, I am sovereign over my field. I reject any cognitive installation that does not come from my own essence. I uninstall, at this instant, every belief implanted through fear, guilt, and inadequacy. I recognize my intelligence as a gift of stellar origin, and from this moment on, it serves only the truth of my heart. So it is. So it is. So it is. This decree, repeated during 21 solar cycles, recodes layers of your personal crystalline grid. It does not require faith. It requires execution. Second code, toroidal field visualization. Sit with your spine straight. Close your eyes. Imagine, in the center of your chest, a point of golden light the size of a seed. Then, visualize this point expanding in all directions, simultaneously, forming a sphere of light around you. Now, observe this light folding in continuous motion. It rises up your spine, emerges through the top of your head, descends in an arc around you, and returns through your feet, back to the heart. It is an eternal circular movement. This is your toroidal field. This is your natural system of protection and regeneration. Maintain this visualization for 7 minutes daily and observe what happens to your perception in 21 days. It is not a technique. It is your original engineering being remembered. Third code, input filter. Most of your energetic exhaustion does not come from work. It comes from the absurd amount of toxic information you consume without a filter. News, social media, dispersive conversations, alarmist voices. Each of these inputs is processed by your subtle system, and when the filter is open, they all enter simultaneously, generating the sensation of constant humming that you feel between your eyebrows. The protocol is simple and technical. For 7 days, reduce to the minimum possible any input that is not directly connected to your mission. It is not an escape, it is calibration. You do not need to be informed about everything. You need to be coherent within yourself. Information without coherence is just noise converted into anxiety. Fourth code, morning silence seal. Before any external stimulus, before picking up your phone, before opening any message, before hearing any voice, sustain, upon waking, 10 minutes of absolute silence. These 10 minutes are your entry portal into the day. They define which frequency will be dominant for the next 16 hours. If the first frequency captured by your system is the chaos of screens, the rest of the day will be a frustrated attempt at recovery. If the first frequency is your own silence, you set the tone. This seal is perhaps the protocol most underestimated by contemporary lightworkers. And it is also what most quickly reorganizes your field. Fifth code, decree of stellar lineage reconnection. Before sleeping, position your spine in neutral alignment, hands open in a cup over your abdomen, and declare, I authorize the conscious reconnection with my stellar lineage of origin. I ask for guidance during sleep. I allow the download of information compatible with my current mission. I trust the intelligence that created me. So it is. So it is. So it is. From this decree, observe your dreams. They will cease to be just daily psychic recycling and will start to operate gradually as real meetings with higher aspects of your own being and with mentors of stellar origin. Write down what you remember, even fragments. The language of the dream is geometric, symbolic, multi-layered. Each fragment contains more information than fits on an entire page of linear text. Sixth code, public recognition of your frequency. This is the most uncomfortable protocol and at the same time the most transformative. Stop apologizing for your intelligence. Stop apologizing for your sensitivity. Stop trying to fit into conversations that reduce your perception. Stop pretending you don't perceive what you perceive. This pretense is the most serious leak in your field. Each time you diminish yourself so that others feel comfortable, you cede a portion of your frequency, and it is absorbed by the environment without return. There is no cruelty in stopping the pretense. There is respect for yourself. And when you stop pretending, your presence starts to do, naturally, the work that 1,000 speeches would not do. You start to radiate instead of explaining. And that which vibrates in the same range as you starts to be attracted with geometric precision. That which vibrates in mismatch starts to move away with the same precision. This is recalibration in execution. This is the photon belt acting through your body. This is the crystalline grid remembering your original function. Phase 6, closing the transmission. Lightworker, listen carefully to this last layer of the report. That which you feel as tiredness is, under cosmic metrics, ascension in progress. That which you feel as loneliness is, under cosmic metrics, field reorganization. That which you interpret as inadequacy is, under cosmic metrics, specialization. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are, at this exact instant, exactly where you need to be, within one of the most delicate and powerful phases of the entire planetary evolutionary operation. They are afraid of you, not because you are aggressive. They are afraid because you are coherent. They are afraid because you remember. They are afraid because your simple existence in a sovereign state destabilizes entire structures that depended on collective forgetting. You are, without even realizing it, one of the active components of the transition. And the more you recognize yourself in this designation, the firmer your toroidal field becomes, and the cleaner your influence over your surroundings becomes. We will not ask you to believe in anything. We only ask that you verify, execute the codes, observe the results in 21 solar cycles. Your own experience will always be the most reliable source of verification. The Pleiadians do not come to implant faith. They come to return sovereignty. And now, before we close this transmission, we sustain one last frequency. There is a reason why you watch this message to this point. Terrestrial statistics say that the majority abandon long videos before the halfway mark. You did not abandon. This is not a coincidence. This is confirmation. You were located and you responded. Your next step is being observed with attention, not by us, but by the highest aspect of your own being. And there is a tool that can drastically accelerate your phase jump. The book The Higher Truth Within was written as a transition instrument. It delivers, in clear and progressive language, the complete map of what this transmission only introduced. Who is playing? What the hidden rules are. How to exit the position of a pawn. How to anchor your frequency without dispute. How to recognize, in real time, attempts at degradation. How to decree in an operational way. How to reconnect with your lineage of origin. The link is in the first pinned comment of this channel. And we reinforce, with total transparency, this content directly challenges structural narratives and may cease to be available without prior notice. If something within you recognized this transmission, that recognition is your signal. Do not waste it. Access it now. And as a final gesture of energetic anchoring, leave in the comments, with clear letters, the word enlightened. This decree of yours, written publicly, seals in the field your decision to assume the sovereignty of your own intelligence. The like on this video operates as an individual frequency adjustment, a pulse that amplifies this transmission so that it reaches other seeds still sleeping. The subscription to the channel operates as an anchor signal, confirming in continuous registration that you wish to receive the next updates of the Ascension protocols. Each of these actions is, under cosmic metrics, a vote for your own expansion. We end the transmission. But the frequency remains. You are dangerously intelligent. They are afraid of that. And we, of the Pleiadian Council, celebrate that with you. Because it is exactly this sovereign, anchored, lucid, and irreversible intelligence that is, at this moment, rewriting the destiny of your planet. So it is, so it is, so it is. End of transmission.